Don't do this at home. Whatever you do.
A lone tent deep in the Sierra Nevadas, California's infamous Bigfoot country. One camper, spooked by signs of something rummaging through their gear, sets up a motion-triggered camera before leaving camp. Just in case. They never expected what it would catch. At first, it's nothing unusual. Two men pass by the lens, average height, average build. But then, something else follows. Something that dwarfs them entirely. Lumbering into view comes a figure, at least 8 feet tall, moving with a slow, deliberate confidence that chills you to the core. This isn't some blurry speck in the background. Zoom in and it becomes painfully clear. Whatever this is, it's solid, tangible, and absolutely not human. Experts are already comparing it to the legendary 1967 Bluff Creek footage, the holy grail of Bigfoot evidence that's baffled analysts for over half a century. And here's the kicker. Because of a frustrating 10-second lag in the camera's motion sensor, we may have missed even more. What else passed through that camp in those missing moments? The Sierra Nevadas are no strangers to Bigfoot encounters. In fact, they rank among the highest in the world. But this footage, this is the kind that makes skeptics sit up and believers lean in. So here's the question. In a world where fake videos get debunked within hours, why does this one still stand unshaken? Because whatever walked through that campsite, it wasn't a man. You might have seen this footage before. It's made the rounds online. But what you're about to see is a sharpened, cleaned up version that adds a whole new layer of clarity. This clip was originally captured in Russia, and even in its raw form, it was already raising eyebrows. But now, with the details enhanced and the blur stripped away, it becomes something else entirely. Take a good look. The movement, the shape, the environment. It's one of the more compelling pieces of footage I've come across. And now that the image is clear, I can't help but ask, does this cleaned up version make it more convincing, or even more unsettling? You be the judge. Deep in the untamed wilderness of Washington state, nearly 6 miles from the nearest trace of civilization, a trail camera snapped something truly chilling. It was a quiet August night in 2014, 8:25 p.m. to be exact, when the camera's infrared sensor was triggered. But instead of a deer or bear, the lens captured a solitary figure. Standing among the trees was a woman, or at least something that appeared to be a woman, draped in a long, flowing white gown. In her arms, she clutched what looked eerily like a doll. The camera only fired twice. In the first image, she stands still, utterly motionless, almost statuesque. In the second, she is turned slightly, as if sensing the silent observer in the trees, as if she knew she was being watched. Now here's what makes this encounter even more disturbing. There are no roads to this location. No homes, no trails, no campsites. This is rugged, remote terrain. So who or what would be wandering through this forgotten patch of forest, dressed in nothing but a paper-thin gown in the dead of night? The camera's owner, a veteran forest firefighter, insists the images weren't staged. Extensive online searches have failed to find any matching photos or known hoaxes. Local law enforcement confirmed there were no missing person reports matching the woman's appearance. To this day, the identity of this mysterious figure, and the reason for her presence so deep in the woods, remains completely unknown. As you might expect, theories flooded the comment sections. Most lean toward something sinister, a ghost, a wraith, something supernatural. But a handful of voices suggested a different possibility. Perhaps she was a dementia patient, lost and confused, somehow wandering miles into the wilderness. It's a haunting thought either way, because whether this was something paranormal or tragically human, the question remains, what was she doing out there? In one of the most compelling recent developments in Bigfoot research, a vocalization recording from Washington's Olympic Peninsula has captured the attention of experts, including Matt Moneymaker, founder of the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO. The Olympic Peninsula, nestled in the northwestern corner of the continental U.S., is a hotbed for Sasquatch sightings. Its vast, salmon-rich rainforests provide both shelter and sustenance, and some researchers believe this region hosts the highest density of Sasquatch activity anywhere in North America. In his analysis of the new recording, Moneymaker offers insight into why audio may soon become the most important form of Bigfoot documentation. According to him, visual encounters, especially road crossings, typically last just seconds, making video evidence incredibly rare. But vocalizations? Those can stretch out for minutes, offering a rare chance to capture something tangible. And in this particular case, the sounds were unlike anything known.
Never heard a noise like that before. So now it ain't going to do it again. It's just been bellowing. Yeah, like that. What the hell would that be? Wow.
In Moneymaker's own words, this is absolutely, positively not a wolf. If you or someone else assumes it is, I urge you to find existing recordings of wolf howls and compare them. You'll realize just how different this is from any known, canid sound. The growls, the rising whoops, the rhythm, it all points to something that doesn't match any regional wildlife. But beyond just analysis, Moneymaker gives some practical advice for everyday people who might encounter the unexplained. Remember, the phone in your pocket is also a sound recorder. It may be a video camera, but it records decent audio. If you hear something strange, start recording. Just point your phone toward the sound and hit record. As the search for Bigfoot evolves, the approach is shifting. Eyewitness accounts and grainy images still matter, but increasingly it's the sounds of the forest, those eerie, echoing calls in the night, that might bring us closer to understanding what walks among the trees. Because sometimes, it's not about what you see, it's about what you hear. Long before viral sky watching became a trend, one of Mexico's most respected UFO researchers captured something that would open an entirely new chapter in the history of unexplained phenomena. While conducting his usual rooftop observation, Salvador Guerrero spotted what he assumed was just another UFO drifting over the city. But when he zoomed in through his viewfinder, everything changed. Suspended high in the sky was a dark, humanoid figure, slowly rotating on its axis, arms and legs outstretched, completely still. No parachute, no wings, no visible propulsion, just a human-shaped form, floating, impossibly, in midair. For several minutes, the figure remained in perfect defiance of gravity, slowly spinning. Then, without warning, it drifted behind a building and disappeared. But the mystery didn't end there. Months later, in December, Salvador recorded another sighting, a nearly identical figure, hovering in the exact same location. And this time, he wasn't alone. Another respected researcher who had remained silent due to the sheer strangeness of his own footage came forward, revealing he too had captured a little flying man hovering silently in the skies. While these encounters may sound bizarre, they're not isolated. In fact, Mexico leads the world in documented UFO sightings and aerial anomalies. Could these floating humanoids be connected to the larger phenomenon? Are they travelers, watchers, or something else entirely? Whatever they are, they're changing the way we look at the skies. Veteran Bigfoot researcher Scott Carpenter has pioneered a clever method for capturing these elusive beings, a backward-facing camera that records whatever might be trailing him. This time, what it captured left even Scott speechless. Hidden in the dense brush, a towering pale figure subtly ducks to avoid detection. Look closely. The white hair is unmistakable. Its movements are careful, deliberate, clearly trying to stay concealed. While Carpenter has documented numerous cryptids shadowing his expeditions, a white Bigfoot is something rare. Could this be an albino variant? The implications are astounding. This particular trail appears to be a hotspot. Carpenter has recorded other strange activity in the same area.
Oh, this guy here. This is on the same trail. This is really just right across from where the other one was. This guy here.
As he walks along the path, the figure briefly steps into view, locking eyes with the camera before slipping behind a thin tree for cover. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. If Scott's theory holds water, then what we're seeing is extraordinary. You can make out facial features, eyes, nose, even the shape of the face. But now, look carefully at its arms. Is it just me, or does it appear to be cradling something? Could this be a parent protecting its young? If so, it might be further proof that these beings travel in family units, just like us. What do you think is going on here? You've probably heard it before. Dogs sense things we can't. This story might just prove it. A woman was filming her peaceful walk through the woods, her two dogs trotting ahead, when suddenly they stopped. Both of them froze, fixating on a single spot up ahead. No barking, no growling, just intense, unmoving focus. She tugged gently at their leashes, expecting them to continue, but they refused to move forward. At the time, she didn't think much of it. Dogs pause for all sorts of reasons, right? But later, when reviewing the footage, her heart skipped a beat. Right there, exactly where her dogs had stared, was someone. A pale face peeking out from between the trees. Dark, sunken eyes, dressed entirely in black, still, watching, blending eerily into the shadows, almost as if it were part of the forest itself. Some believe this was a watcher of the woods, a folkloric entity whispered about in old tales, a guardian, or perhaps a warden, silently observing those who dare to step into its domain. What makes this encounter truly chilling is how her dogs reacted before anything was visible. Not even the camera captured it clearly in real time. They sensed something long before she ever saw it. It makes you wonder, how often do our pets notice what our eyes can't? How many warnings have we brushed off, thinking our animals were just distracted, when in fact they were trying to protect us from something unseen? A viral TikTok clip has the internet in a frenzy, but this time it's not just about eerie vibes, it's about evidence. In the video, a group of hunters captures a haunting howl echoing through a dense forest. At first, most wrote it off as a wolf, maybe a lone stray howling into the wind, but when experts ran a detailed sound analysis, everything changed.
I think he'll pick up that sound. Yeah. Man. I think he'll pick up that sound. Yeah.
Here's where it gets fascinating. The frequencies in the recording don't match any known North American wolf species, not one. But the real kicker? The sound does match something else. It lines up almost perfectly with the longest documented Bigfoot vocalization ever recorded. That's not internet hype. That's coming from seasoned sound analysts. And suddenly, this isn't just a creepy noise in the woods. It's a possible link, one of the most compelling yet, between a modern encounter and the enduring legend of Bigfoot. The comparisons are hard to ignore. The structure, the pitch, the length, all line up with what many believe to be the elusive creature's call. Now the debate is raging. Skeptics are leaning in. Believers are doubling down. Because if this wasn't a wolf, then what exactly was howling in those woods? This next clip comes from Mountain View, Arkansas, and it suggests that something mysterious might have been drawn out by a rare cosmic event, the solar eclipse. On the night of April 6, 2024, just days before the eclipse swept across the region, two friends staying at an Airbnb deep in the Arkansas mountains found themselves part of an unforgettable and unsettling encounter. It was around 8 p.m. They were standing on the deck, waiting for the rest of their group, stargazing and enjoying the mountain silence, until they started hearing heavy footsteps, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. The sound circled them. Branches cracked. Leaves rustled. Something was there, just out of sight, until it was right beside them. Here's where it gets really strange. They didn't see anything in the moment. But later, when they reviewed their camera footage, Rocky Mountain Sasquatch analyzed the clip and enhanced it by 200%. What they found was chilling. Behind a nearby tree, a distinct arm and hand can be seen reaching outward, with what appears to be long hair draping from it, movement that had gone completely unnoticed in real time. This raises an intriguing theory. Some in the cryptid community believe sightings increase during major astronomical events, eclipses, supermoons, meteor showers. Is there a connection? Could this mysterious figure have been drawn out by the upcoming solar eclipse? That's a possibility I hadn't considered before. But if these sightings cluster around cosmic events, maybe we should start looking up before we start looking around. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are eclipse windows prime time for cryptid encounters? On the night of September 16, 2014, controversial researcher Robert Dotson set a bait trap deep in the woods of Oklahoma, a mix of fruit and raw meat meant to lure out the unknown. By 9:30 p.m., his trail camera picked up something, or someone, watching from the shadows. Two glowing eyes pierced through the trees near the bait site.
What do you keep dunking down for, damn it?
Then Dotson did the unthinkable. He charged straight toward it.
Don't do this at home. Whatever you doing. Right over here. Don't ever do this.
The aftermath only deepened the mystery. When the area was surveyed, the eye level was measured at an astonishing 8 feet high, far too tall for any deer or common animal. So what kind of creature watches from that height, hidden in the dark, glowing eyes unblinking? In rural Michigan, about 40 miles outside of Detroit, a man named Mike lives on a quiet 12-acre property nestled among old oak trees. His house sits well back from the road, and behind it, about 200 yards out, rests his pride and joy, a large, peaceful pond that he stocked with fish years ago. It draws all kinds of wildlife, usually to his delight, but one October night that all changed. It was around 9:30 p.m. The weather was unseasonably warm, the moon nearly full, casting a soft silver light across the land. Mike was doing what he'd done countless times before, relaxing on his back deck with a beer, soaking in the calm. A few solar lights around the pond danced across the water's surface. Then he heard it. A rhythmic splashing coming from the pond. Now Mike was no stranger to the sounds of wildlife. Deer, raccoons, the occasional fox, he knew them all. But this was different. Too deliberate. Curious, he stood up, half expecting to catch sight of some local kid sneaking a late-night swim. But what he saw chilled him to the core. At the edge of the pond, something crouched. At first, it looked like a large dog hunched over the water. It had dark fur or maybe hair. It was hard to tell in the moonlight. But something was off. The way it moved. The way it was built. Its limbs were wrong. The shoulders were broad and the back legs far too long for any dog. Then it stood up. Unfolding itself, unnaturally fluid, it rose onto 2 legs like a man. Mike froze. The creature towered over the pond, easily 7 feet tall, maybe more. In the moonlight, its silhouette came into focus, an elongated muzzle like a wolf, but too massive. Pointed ears twitched, scanning the woods as if listening. For a brief, absurd moment, Mike tried to convince himself it was someone in a costume, but the movement, the weight of it, it was too real, too smooth, too alive. He reached for his phone, fumbling with trembling fingers, but by the time he looked up, the thing was already gliding away, not quite running. Not quite walking, just moving, fast, across the clearing, vanishing into the tree line like it had never been there. Mike sat there in stunned silence, his beer forgotten, the pond reflecting nothing but questions. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he mustered the courage to check the pond. There were strange impressions near the water's edge, nothing distinct, just enough to confirm it wasn't a dream. The ground was too hard for clear tracks. But the fear? That was real. Mike's a construction worker, practical, no nonsense, no interest in ghost stories or monsters, but even he admits. What he saw wasn't a bear. It wasn't a man, and it wasn't any animal native to Michigan. He hasn't told his wife. His coworkers wouldn't understand, but he sent this story to us, not for fame, but so someone out there who's seen something similar might feel less alone. And just in case you're wondering, Mike locks his doors now. He doesn't sit outside after dark anymore, because some things you just can't unsee. Tucked between Columbia Falls and Glacier National Park lies an area so remote, even seasoned outdoorsmen rarely pass through. Local skier Julian knows this terrain well, but during one of his backcountry runs, he stumbled across something no one could explain. Imprinted in the untouched snow were massive tracks, each one far larger than Julian's ski boots. And if you've ever worn ski boots, you know, those aren't small. But it wasn't just the size that raised eyebrows. One of the prints showed 2 clumped toes, an odd feature that didn't match any known wildlife in the area. Track experts reviewing the images noted the deep impressions and enormous stride, indicating something with incredible weight had moved through the area. Even more baffling, wildlife researchers confirmed that grizzlies and other large predators wouldn't be trudging through snow this deep, especially not in midwinter. What's even more compelling, the tracks followed a perfectly linear path, as if the creature was walking on 2 legs. Could this be fresh evidence of Montana's most elusive resident? You already know who we're thinking of. Turn down the lights. Cue the eerie music. In the right setting, under the right conditions, The subtle sway of this tree could easily be mistaken for a lurking Bigfoot. The silhouette, the rhythm, the atmosphere, it all lines up a little too well. Of course it's just a tree, but the fact that it fooled someone enough to end up on a Bigfoot forum, honestly, that's kind of awesome. It began as a heartwarming moment, a grandfather dancing with his granddaughter at a family gathering, smiles all around, the kind of memory you'd expect to cherish forever. But as the two sway joyfully from left to right, the camera captures something no one at the party noticed in real time. A figure begins to emerge. At first it's barely noticeable, just a shadowy blur in the background. But as the pair continues dancing, the figure moves with them, trailing just behind. Its form is dark, its presence ominous. Yet nobody seems aware of it. It wasn't until later, when the girl's mother reviewed the footage, that the horrifying truth came to light. She paused, rewound, watched again. There it was, something following them. Some might say spirits are drawn to joyful moments, especially relatives who've passed on. But the family is adamant. There's no one they've lost who would show up like this. No familiar faces, no comforting presence. Instead, they believe they've captured something far more sinister. So now we turn it over to you. Was this a visitation from the other side, or a dark presence hiding in plain sight?